Jasen Arias, Operations Manager for Grant Cardone's 10X Stages, talks with Gary about how you can build a ton of trust by getting on a stage, why you shouldn't be afraid to niche down when you talk, and how providing value can be all about simplicity. This podcast is made by marketing entrepreneurs for marketing entrepreneurs. If you love creating something out of nothing and are hopelessly addicted to growth, you're one of us. Stop by each week to hear conversations with leading marketing entrepreneurs where we drill down on things like how to start and double your business, develop systems that can scale, and why success starts with who you are as a person. And after the episode, head over to the Agency Growth Engine server on Discord to talk shop and swap stories with the rest of our community. Let's dive in.
All right, we are live. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'm excited about today's episode. But before we go any further, please make sure that you leave a comment or a review wherever you're listening. It really, really helps us out. I know this is white noise. I know you're just going to listen past it, but please stop, take a second. Don't make me beg. I'd really, really appreciate it. All right, so we have Jasen with us today, and I am excited about this one. I've never had an opportunity to have a conversation like the one we're about to have, and I think it's going to be really, really helpful to you and your agency on many levels. So Jasen, I'm going to quickly just run down what I think your business does and what you do, and you tell me what I got right, what I got wrong, and where I might be missing the mark on a couple of things. So you are the operations manager for 10X, and 10X is, obviously we all know Grant Cardone, right? So it's a marketing firm under Grant Cardone's brand, and you help entrepreneurs who are building their business, and they're at that like six-figure level or so, and they're trying to really learn how to grow their business. So what did I get right? What did I get wrong? And what did I leave out?
We got most of it right. The one part, so I'm actually with 10X stages. 10X stages. And so if you look at the 10X brand, there's like 10X, like they have multiple different models underneath, whether it's working with investments, or whether it's working with capital, whether it's working with, like, there's even a health thing, like there's all of it. And we specifically focus on getting people speaking opportunities. Like how can you take your brand and your message and really elevate that on other people's stages, speaking to the right audiences, crafting the right message, those kind of things.
That's awesome. So walk me through a little bit how you help businesses. So keep in mind, a lot of our audiences are agencies, so people who want to drive business. And I have some thoughts around why agencies sometimes struggle to get results that they want from their marketing for their business. But I would love to hear what you're doing and how you're helping people.
So one of the unique kind of platforms that we are looking at is stepping away from traditional marketing, whether it's like Facebook or whether it's Instagram or whether it's print marketing, email marketing, like things like that. Like you're competing for a trust level, right? Like one of the big steps that we have to go from is I have no idea who you are to actually wanting to do business with somebody. And in between those steps, whether it's the 12 steps or the connection points or all these different things, ultimately what you're trying to do is build a certain level of trust between those before somebody will actually take a step forward with you, especially when you're looking for quality and repeat business. The exciting part with stages is that when you can get an opportunity to speak to a group of people that are already interested in listening to what you have to say, you can jump that trust gap in a matter of minutes as opposed to months or even years. And so getting people to understand that and taking that step really is kind of what that next level is.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I've built something for our clients that we work with. It's called a trust funnel. And the higher up you are in the trust funnel, the harder it is to get anybody to buy anything. It doesn't matter what business you're in or what you're doing. And the further down the trust funnel you can get, the better opportunity that you're going to have for them just to buy from you with very few questions asked. Usually the bottom of the trust funnel is referrals, right? So that's somebody who's like their brother uses you and they say you gotta use Jasen. They're amazing. They do a great job of helping people grow their businesses with their marketing, and that's obviously great. but there's some scalability issues with that. So walk me through, like if I was going to use your services, what would be the first thing that you would talk to me about? What would be the first thing that you would be helping me with?
The first thing I'd be curious is what is your message? Do you have a refined message? When we're sitting down and we're having conversations with our clients, there's two different pain points that really bookend what it is that we do. The first pain point is you have to have something to say when you are given an opportunity to speak. So we all have businesses, we all have things that we're excited about. But when we're up on that stage, or we're on that podcast, or we're in that Facebook chat room, or we're at that B&I meeting, whatever that may be, what do we have that we're talking about that's going to create curiosity and make people be more interested in what we have to offer without selling everything? Like as a society, we are so burnt out on selling.
Yeah.
And there's just, or not selling, but being sold to. And what we have to realize is that we're competing against companies that have massive budgets. Like we're being flooded by McDonald's and Walmarts and all these things, and we hate it. So we definitely don't want to be flooded with the same thing at the lower level. So you have to have that message that's really refined and put together. It typically needs to be a story that is from you, who you are, how you got there. Like if I was working with you, Gary, like what is it that drove you into this passion, and why are you an expert in this area? And share some information. Like if you could give away 3 to 5 tips of how to do what you do better that other people could take with them, then that kind of brings people back for more. So that's step one. Getting people on stages, then we're looking for social proof and stuff like that. But then directly after that, you have to be able to learn how to take opportunities once you're on the stage. So you can have the greatest thing to say and you can end up on the greatest stage. But if you don't have somewhere to send them, something to offer them, something to trade them for that email address or phone number, then you end up losing all of that positivity that you had.
Yeah, you lost all the opportunity because it is.
Yep.
You did just cut in line on the trust factor, right? It's like, oh, this guy's standing here talking about the thing that I happen to need, and he sounds like he knows what he's talking about, but that's a very short line, right? Like it disappears very quickly, and you have to be able to capitalize on it right away. Totally agree. Yep. One of the things that you said there is that you got to create curiosity, and I was doing some work on what makes like good titles, what makes good taglines, what really just marketing is in a nutshell. And one of the things that I read was that friction plus curiosity. So you have to create curiosity, and then you have to create some kind of friction. And I think in marketing, for us at least, we're really big when we go out. So we do dental marketing, right? So we're closing in on $2 million a month in recurring revenue, and we have hundreds and hundreds of dental practices that we work with. And we don't ever really sell when we're out in the public. We educate. And so what we do is we walk people through how they should market their dental practice. And is that kind of what you guys help people with, or is there a little bit more to it that I'm missing?
So a little bit of both. There's a couple things that you talked on. So there is the talk, or that's the sharing information, giving more than what somebody's expecting. When you have that opportunity of sharing, like I'm gonna gift you as much value as I possibly can, in exchange for an email address or phone number, that's a step in the right direction. The other part that you talked about was creating talk titles and how do we get people's attention. And one of the things that I like to look at is what are we doing to get somebody to raise their hand? A lot of times when I see people, they're putting out their talk titles, they're saying things like marketing for entrepreneurs. Well, marketing for entrepreneurs, I get it, right? But it's not really niched in far enough to what it is that you do. Marketing for entrepreneurs in dentistry. Well, now you've actually gotten like, okay, now I'm a dentist, I'm interested in that.
Yeah.
But every step that you can take that. So marketing for female entrepreneurs getting into dentistry. Now you're like, wait a second. Now we're down.
He's talking right to me.
Spot.
Yeah.
And so what's interesting is that sometimes we get caught up in the idea of like, well, that's not all I work with. I don't want to say that I work with more than just women, and I work with more than just dentists. Well, yeah, but the group that you're going to go talk to is primarily made up of women who are dentists or women who are entrepreneurs or women,
Yeah.
like whatever it is. And so the more niche, without it being a total book, in
Yeah.
that title, that you can get somebody to say, oh, that person is talking to me, they instantly will feel more connected and want to listen and take action with what it is that you're talking about.
I love that. Yeah, niches get niches get riches, right? Is what I've been told. It's
Right,
because it's and really people get so confused because they're like, especially when young entrepreneurs are first starting out, it's like, well, no, I need to go really wide so I can get customers. And when you speak to everybody, you're speaking to nobody.
Right.
So if all of your messaging's just wide out and just for the world, you're gonna lose your opportunity. And so really narrowing down that niche is super important. Now, you said that you're trying to get people to give an email. What's worked really well for you and your clients to get that email? Is it just like white papers, case studies? What are you giving them to convert that?
So real simple, and this is like we can work on it like right now. So if I was to come on here and say, I've got 5 tips to instantly improve your conversions or improve, like whatever it is. I got 5 tips that your audience can take with you right now. Yeah. And then I was to ask you, like, well, Gary, how much time? And you're going to let me know, well, we got about 30 minutes. And I go, oh, okay, we can probably get through about 2 of those tips, but I'll get a special link for you, Gary, and your audience. And we'll put that at the bottom that has the full 5 list, and you guys can go download that. It doesn't need to be, I think sometimes we end up in this trap that it needs to be something that's complicated, that it needs to be a book, or it needs to be this long survey, or it needs to be like something that is a high value to us, like falling into that trap of, well, it needs to be important to me to be important to my audience. But you need to remember that your audience is oftentimes early on their journey to where you are getting. And so sharing something early on that would have made a big difference for you is incredibly valuable to your audience. So those 5 tips, as simple as some of them might be, and then they just go. It's a simple landing page that they can then click, leave an email address, and leave with those 5. And they should be 3 to 5 really valuable tips. Don't put in something that you think that's like, don't fall into the trap like, oh, I don't want to share that because I make money off of that.
Yeah.
It's the other way. Like, give your 5 most valuable tips.
Yeah, I love that. So it really, when entrepreneurs get in that mindset of like, I don't want to give away the good stuff, it's usually because, in my experience, they have a scarcity mindset, right? So they're like, everybody's going to steal it and they're going to try to do it themselves. And that's just a scarcity mindset. So an abundant mindset is, I'm going to tell everybody what we do and how we do it, how we make the sausage, and everybody can come and take it if they want. And guess what happens? The do-it-yourselfers go, thanks, and you don't want to work with them anyways.
Right.
And the ones that are like, you know what, I'm too busy for this. I'm too busy being an entrepreneur to do this myself. I'm going to hire this guy because I can tell he knows what he's talking about. So it's the exact opposite that happens that you think would happen. And so that's a huge takeaway. If you can, always give as much value as you can and give away the secret sauce as much as possible.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about your company. I think you guys have 26 team members. Is that right?
Yeah. So the Stage Agency, we're at 26 team members, and we're growing fast. Right now, we're a little over, we're like at 70 active clients. We're getting ready to onboard an additional 70.
Oh,
and
wow,
then
you're doubling?
Yeah. And then, so the way that we're positioning things out is that we're going to onboard 30 in the month of June and then 20 every single month after that. So the way it works is like you would come in, like as a client, you come in and you actually work with an agent, a strategist, and an assistant. So that's like your support team. And they come in and their sole job is to understand who you are, where you're trying to go, and then find speaking opportunities for you to go out and share your message. And so the team's growing as we're onboarding, each of our agents has roughly 10 clients. So it's definitely a hands-on service. You're not getting just one person that's working with 100 people that's just going to send you a bunch of random information or, just fill in the blank type stuff. It's really catered to you.
So if you have somebody, just make up a business. So somebody is somebody you would work with, like what kind of business?
So I would love to actually just talk about the ones that there's going to be a lot of people that think it's not for them, which is the ones that really, because it's easy to talk about like entrepreneurs, speakers,
Yeah.
your big business owners, like charismatic people, stuff like, oh, I want to be on stage. I want to be, getting my, like, those are the easy ones to talk to. The ones that often get overlooked, it's one of my favorite stories that Pete shares, is a plumber.
Yeah.
What do we really think that a plumber would have to share from stage? Like most of the time they're happy being in a construction based, networking group that's local. How can stages really help somebody at that level?
Yeah.
And the reality is that it can have a huge impact for them because the stage doesn't need to be as big to be influential to who they are in their local community. So the way that the story with the plumber that Pete was working with it was exactly that. He's like, well, I do plumbing. I don't know how stages would necessarily help me. And the steps that he went through was, okay, let's put together your 3 to 5 things of how every homeowner can prepare their home going into winter. I think he was somewhere in the Midwest. Mm-hmm. And then let's figure out what kind of Facebook groups are out there that are speaking to the community. It could be like go back and think about your Facebook groups that are like the for sale groups or homeowners groups. There's Facebook groups or everything. And then you can go just to let's even just get it smaller. I've lived in neighborhoods that have their own Facebook group.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so if I can craft my message that I'm going to give everybody in my neighborhood 3 to 5 tips on how to prep their home for the upcoming winter, I'm also going to be the first guy that they call when my toilet won't stop leaking or when I've got a drip here or when like there's a leak, any number of things there. And so like other people's stages are really something that is available to anybody.
So no matter who it is, you're going to find them an opportunity, whether it's digital or in person or it's national or local. You're going to help them find what they need, the people they need to get in front of, and then you're going to help them with their message to make sure it's clear. And then you're going to help them with the call to action. So that way you're actually capturing those people. And then what happens after that? So if we're working together and you're helping me with that and you get me on stage and then I get some leads, then where does the relationship go from there?
Okay. Well, so let me split it a little bit. So we have an entire different part of our agency that works solely with helping you brand your message. So if anybody wants to look up, his name's Pat Quinn, and he's like the speaker whisperer. Like he knows it all. It's all about storytelling, sharing your message. So we've got a workshop. It's called Signature Talk, and that side of the agency really manages that. Once you have that talk, then you work with the agency and we help you put together a strategy in order to get on additional stages. Our hard, like if we were to draw lines in the sand, our responsibility typically ends with us creating those connections. Like, hey, Gary, I found this fantastic meeting planner that they're super excited to have you on their upcoming event. I know it's a stage that you're excited about, they're excited, and we've used our connections and marketing and things like that to make that pair. One of the things that we do spend time with each of our clients is, well, how did that stage feel? What was the value that came out of it? How many leads did you get? All of those things. And one of the things that we found, like I said, that's the other bookend, is that not everybody is set up to take advantage of any kind of incoming leads or excitement. Like I said, sometimes they're doing something that's too complicated. Like, well, come here to download my free book. We have to remember the audience that we're talking to. So the audience that I'm talking to right now on your podcast is a podcast listening audience. They are probably not going to spend a lot of time reading an entire book, right? Like
Yeah.
There's probably a bunch of them that are working out right now. There's a bunch that are on their way to school or work. They're moving. So you have to give them a much smaller chunk of how to take action in that moment. Versus if you're doing a live presentation, then there might be something different because they can't just stop the
attention.
podcast at any time.
Yeah. Yep.
And those are all strategies that we talk about.
That's amazing. So, and then what's your average lifespan that someone would work with you?
Right now we're doing like 12 months. We have some clients that have been with us well over 2 years. We have some that do like a 6-month agreement with us type thing, but it's all about getting the ball rolling. So again, and it's a partnership,
Yeah.
So it's definitely not something that you just come in and it's like, here, we've awarded all these stages for you. We found all these things. It is sitting down and doing the legwork. Like all of our agents, we do videos to marketing planners. And so we're reaching out, not just like in an email, like, hey, are you interested in this person?
Yeah.
We're getting face-to-face time, with them. We're setting up phone calls. We're researching, like we have a championship program. So like, again, if I was working with you, it'd be like, well, who else do you know? Like what other podcasts have you been on, Gary, that I would love to call and talk to them, see what impact you had on their audience. And if there's anybody else that they think that I should connect with. So it's all of the legwork of building those connections and relationships.
That's really good. And so this is pretty unique. Is there any other agencies that you're aware of that are approaching the problem from this side of the coin?
Well, okay, so here's the thing that really makes us almost exclusively unique. A lot of times, and this was something when I started with the agency, I was surprised to find out. When we think of speakers, most of the time, most of us are going to think like, oh, that person got paid to be on this stage. And you're combating a different set of problems when you're approaching it that way, because now you're like, well, what's your budget to have me on stage? And there are big speakers that do that. Like we do represent certain speakers that they are, it's $25,000 for them to show up and speak at an event. When we are working with small business owners and people that are, getting into this, we come at it from a place of you're speaking for free for the opportunity of earning more clients.
Yeah.
And when you kind of break down the numbers, like if your average client value is $1,000, but you would only be able to get $1,000 as a speaking fee, and you were able to go talk to 100 people, all you need to do is convert one person in order to do that. So the likelihood is that you're going to get 5, 10, like depending on what your conversion, that comes down to your talk, that comes down to your offer, like all of those kind of things. But the higher you can get that conversion, then the opportunities of going and speaking people are way bigger. And so we are the only agency that is working that way, from what I understand.
I see what you're saying. Because there's other agencies out there that are like, we'll find you gigs, but you're going to get paid for those. But you're not building in the call to action. They're not thinking about the call to action to the end. You guys are saying, hey, we're just going to get you the opportunity to get eyeballs on you. And I think that's super unique. And what's really cool about this is, right, like I always joke, I started in email marketing for restaurants, and now I'm in dental marketing for group practices, right? Like it's crazy, right? So you can develop and build an agency, and when people are like, well, it's a crowded space. There's so much competition. You just heard from somebody who's doing something that literally no one else is doing, and it's super unique. So there's so much opportunity. Now, one of the things that I've noticed, Jason, is that agencies really struggle. A lot of agencies struggle marketing themselves. And I think I have a theory around this, and I would love your thoughts. And then I'd love to hear about like what you're doing for your agency to produce results at the level that you are. So as a marketer, my whole brain works around B2C, because my clients are businesses and I want to get them customers, right? So I'm always thinking like, okay, what's the call to action going to be? How are we going to run this funnel? All these different things, right? And it's very transactional in the sense that you get one ad to click and then they buy, and then you need to get another and another and another, and it just never really stops, right? It just keeps going and going and going forever. B2B is totally different. Right? So marketing for business to business is really more about relationships and building out those relationships and being able to get multiple opportunities from one relationship. And it's not as easy as just running an ad to get those customers to come to you. Number one, what are your thoughts around agencies that kind of struggle with that? And then number two, how do you guys solve that? How do you tackle getting new customers at the rate that you're getting them?
So back to the advice of like, give more than what you're asking for at the beginning. We lean heavy on that. And so we will have workshops, or we'll do, we'll be speaking at somebody else's stages. So for example, Pete was speaking at GrowthCon this year and just sharing different bits of value that people can take advantage of, and then taking them a step up from there. Like if you found this valuable, we have an entire workshop that's going to be 100% dedicated to helping you craft your talk and book your own stages. And so we've had 2 of those in the last 2 months. And then at that workshop, like we really kind of try and stagger people up. So it's not I think the mistake that we make sometimes, we try and go from zero to our peak offer, right? Without anything in between, regardless of what the dollar signs are in any of those. But if you can start with zero and then you're like, hey, for $1,000, you get to come and get to learn a little bit about this. And if you find more value, you can do this for $5,000. And if you find value, you can go from there. And so the agency for us, is one of the things that's really sitting at the top. So we get on other people's stages, just like we're talking to everybody else to doing. And then we tell them about a workshop. Like if you want to learn how to craft your talk and you want to learn how to book your own stages, here's this workshop. And at that workshop, if you think that sounds amazing and you want somebody else to take over that for you as an agency, here's the agency, and we're going to handle all of that stuff for you as well. So that is literally the cycle that we are going through as well. To answer your question,
and you find that works well for you, even though you're B2B, right? So you're marketing more to businesses, and then your customers, which are businesses, are
Right.
marketing more to customers in most cases. Maybe not all the time, but you're like your plumber example that you gave. So do you find any conflict in between the B2B versus B2C, or how do you rectify that?
it's an interesting question because, in a lot of ways, it's all mixed together. Like you said, our customers are business owners, so they are customers,
Yeah.
and our job is to help connect them to meeting planners and
customers,
event planners. So that's another business that we are then
Yeah.
like mixing in, and then the event has their clients, which then become the customers of the idea behind B to C and C to B, like that kind of all gets mixed in a little bit. But we absolutely have, some speakers that they are much more focused on a traditional customer or a traditional business owner. We have people that are looking for other coaches. So they are think of it almost like a real estate firm, or a real estate agency. Like they've been doing this for so long, but they want to start bringing in other realtors to work with them, or health coaches or marketing agencies or anything like that. So then they're actually looking for other businesses to get involved with what they're doing.
Got it. And then, so how did you guys end up getting with Grant Cardone? Walk me through a little bit of that journey.
Okay, I will fill you in on what I know. So Grant and Pete have been friends for quite a while now, and one of Pete's favorite flags to raise is that he's the only person that's been on the GrowthCon stage for 4 years straight. So if you don't know about GrowthCon, it's an amazing stage. It's big. The show is incredible, and it's Grant Cardone's pinnacle of events for the year. And Pete and Pat are the ones that have done a significant amount of coaching with either the speakers that have been on Grant's stage or Grant himself or the team. So there's just been a lot of cross communication and helping each other amongst the years. And so then at GrowthCon, it was announced that it was an official partnership between 10X and Advance Your Reach stage agency, that they were going to come together, and 10X was the official brand, and then the stage agency was the operations, which is where I live.
Got it. And then, so how have things changed for you since partnering with Grant Cardone? Because I know it's relatively recent that this has all happened. So has anything changed for you in operating what you guys are doing so far?
Yes and no. And so I had let you know that, we were at roughly about 70 clients active right now, and we will be probably close to triple that by the end of the year. And that's a direct impact from GrowthCon and that partnership. And how we adjust that customer experience and up level that. If anybody in this audience is a 10X, community member, they get it. Grant really is all about the 10X. He's going full on and high level and all that stuff. And so, raising the bar to meet those expectations, which I absolutely love, but just really keeping things up and running at that. Those have been some changes. We are, at the same exact time, we were already in the midst of up-leveling the agency experience at the beginning of this year. So before this was way before this was announced. Maybe it was an idea they had talked about at the end of last year, just wasn't anywhere near my plate at the time. But we had already started implementing new softwares for communicating with clients on how their data is being used, and not like sold, but like how do we use their information? What stages are we going after? Like how do we really communicate with them? And then how do we communicate with planners? Like that's been completely revamped over the last 60 to 90 days.
Awesome. And so it's really interesting, right? So you, from the outside looking in, it's so cool. There's so many backstories
Right.
and backstories to backstories. So that's amazing. If someone wanted to find out about what you guys are doing or get involved in maybe one of the presentations that you guys are doing or learn more about your company, how can they connect with you?
I can absolutely provide a link. You can go to 10xstages.com and find it there. You can do a search for 10x Stages. And do there, but I can, like, there's a Speaker application that we can provide you, all that kind of stuff. If you just want to sit and have a conversation, I mean, that's one of the things that I really enjoy doing, and like breaking down the strategy, making sure that it's going to be a right fit for you. Sometimes there's just ideas that you're like, you haven't had yet, and those one-on-one conversations when you're like, no, this really would work for you, or maybe this wouldn't work. Like you don't really have that message yet. Like, don't jump into a pool that you're not ready to swim in. Like that doesn't help anybody. So, but getting people pointed in the right direction, I'm always more than happy to sit and have those conversations.
That's awesome. And then is there anything that I forgot to ask you or anything that you feel like the listener should know more about?
I don't think so. I mean, there's endless conversations that we could have about this. You hit most of the main topics, kind of like what it is that we do. Some things to be aware of before and after, working with the agency. Like, how does those bookends work? We've talked about this is a perfect fit for everybody that is literally a tradesman up to like TD Jakes is one of the clients that Pete's worked with. Yeah. I mean,
You did a great job.
Yeah, we could talk all day.
Yeah, you did a great job. I really appreciate you coming on. And for everybody listening, there you can never niche down. Like, there's always opportunities. You can never niche down enough, and there's always opportunities, even in really crowded markets. In fact, crowded markets create opportunities like what Jason and his team are representing here today. Is here, let us show you a way that somebody isn't thinking about it yet. And so I loved what you shared today. Very, very inspiring, and I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, every time that I think of like, did I niche down far enough? I remember that I think it was in the summer of 2021. There was an octopus that had the biggest show on Netflix. So like, that's how many people are out there.
Let's go. Awesome. You have a
Thanks,
good day.
Gary.